My name is Natalie Mercer. I'm 31 years old. And I didn't realize my relationship was already cracking from the inside until my boyfriend texted me something so casually unhinged that my brain refused to process it on the first read. We'd been together 14 months, long enough to meet parents, long enough to talk about the future in vague but hopeful terms, long enough that the idea of us felt assumed. 6 months ago, I bought a house. Not a dream home, not Instagram perfect, just a 3-bedroom fixer-upper in a quiet neighborhood. Mine, in my name, paid for with 8 years of saving, skipping vacations, living in apartments where the heat barely worked. I rewired lights myself, refinished floors on weekends, painted walls after work with aching shoulders and a sense of pride I'd earned. It was the first thing in my life that felt unshakably mine. My boyfriend's lease was ending soon. We'd talked, casually, about him moving in. Nothing official. Just wouldn't it be nice conversations. I was warming up to the idea. Then came Tuesday night. I was standing on a ladder in the kitchen, hands dusty, halfway through replacing a light fixture when my phone buzzed in my pocket. Him. Babe, great news. I'm finally ready to move in with you. But there's one thing we need to talk about. I smiled, ladder still wobbling. Then the next text landed. My ex-girlfriend is coming too. I froze. Read it again. Then checked my carbon monoxide detector like maybe I was hallucinating. His ex-girlfriend. The woman he dated for 4 years before me. The one he was still friends with because they had history. The one who commented heart emojis on his photos. The one who called him late at night to process emotions. That example. I sat down on the unfinished kitchen floor, ladder forgotten, heart strangely calm in that way it gets right before reality sinks its teeth in. I typed back, interesting arrangement. Then I opened Zillow, screenshotted apartment listings, 2 bedrooms, reasonable neighborhoods, prices in the $1,400 to $1,800 range. Sent them to him. Me. Here are some places you and her could look at together. Good luck. My phone rang immediately. What? He laughed, like I'd misunderstood a joke. Babe, I don't get it. What plan? These are apartments, I said evenly, for you and your ex. No, you're not understanding. We'd all live together. Your house has 3 bedrooms. She'd take the guest room. It makes sense. It makes sense. For who? I asked. For everyone. She's going through a hard time. Her roommate kicked her out. She has nowhere to go. I thought you'd be supportive. Supportive of my boyfriend moving his ex-girlfriend into my house. I'm not making this weird, he continued. You are. I laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. You just asked me to live with the woman you slept with for 4 years. There was a pause. She's important to me, he said finally. And if you can't handle that, maybe you're not as mature as I thought. Something settled in my chest then. Heavy, clear. Here's what I can handle, I said. You moving in alone, or you finding a place with her. What I can't handle is both. That's an ultimatum. No, I replied. That's clarity. He tried one last angle. She'd pay rent. It would help with your mortgage. I don't need help with my mortgage, I said quietly. I need a partner who understands boundaries. He hung up. I went back to the light fixture. My hands were steady. That scared me more than anger would have. 2 hours later, he texted, You're being ridiculous. We'll talk when you've calmed down. I didn't respond. Somewhere deep down, I already knew. This wasn't about an ex. It was about who came first. And it wasn't me. The first thing I noticed after that night wasn't anger. It was silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that hums, like a refrigerator you can't unplug. I didn't block him. I didn't announce anything. I just stopped engaging. I needed space to hear my own thoughts without someone rewriting them for me in real time. He did not like that. Day 1, can we please talk about this like adults? Day 2, I miss you. This is so unlike you. Day 3, I can't believe you're being so immature about this. That word, immature, kept popping up like a diagnosis, as if not wanting to live with my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend meant I'd failed some emotional IQ test. Day 4 was when the chorus arrived. My mom thinks you're showing your true colors. My friends say this is controlling behavior. They think this is a red flag. I read those messages slowly, twice, feeling something cold slide into place. He wasn't trying to understand me. He was trying to outnumber me. Day 5, finally. Fine. I'll tell her she can't move in. Happy now? That one stopped me. Not because it was reassuring, but because it wasn't. There was no I was wrong. No, I get why that crossed a line. Just fine. Like he was denying a child dessert, not acknowledging a massive boundary violation. I replied with one sentence. We should talk in person. He came over that night, brought wine. Like we were resetting the scene. like the last 5 days hadn't happened. I didn't open it. He sat on my new couch, glanced around at the renovations, smiled like he belonged there already. "The place looks really good," he said. "Those built-ins? Gorgeous." "Thanks," I said. "I've been working on it." He nodded, then sighed, the kind of sigh that signals a speech he'd practiced. "Look, I get that the text came out wrong. I should have talked to you first. Bad delivery." "That's part of it," I said. "But you have to understand where I'm coming from," he continued. "She's been my friend for years. She's struggling. She got fired last month. Did I tell you that? And her roommate situation fell apart. I was just trying to help someone I care about. By moving her into my house," I said. "I asked," he corrected. "No," I said calmly. "You announced. You said she was coming like it was already decided." He rolled his eyes. "Semantics." "It's not," I replied. "And even if you had asked properly, the answer would still be no." "Why?" he shot back. "Give me one good reason." "She's your ex." "That was years ago," he said immediately. "We're just friends now." "Friends you want to live with," I said. "In my house." "So what?" he snapped. "I'm just supposed to abandon her? Let her end up on the street?" "She's a grown woman," I said. "She can find an apartment, a roommate, move back with family. She can't afford a place alone. Then she gets a roommate who isn't her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend." He stared at me like I'd suggested something obscene. "You really don't get it," he said. "Enlighten me." "She and I have been through everything together. 4 years. College, first jobs, all of it. You don't just throw that away because some new woman is insecure." "Some new woman." I felt the words land like a verdict. "We've been together 14 months, I said quietly. "I've met your parents. You've met mine. We've talked about marriage, kids, and I'm some new woman?" "That's not what I meant," he backpedaled fast. "I just meant you and I are newer. She and I have history. It's different energy." "You're right," I said. "It is different. Because you and I are supposed to be building a future, and she's supposed to be in the past." "She is in the past, romantically," he insisted. "Why can't you understand that?" "Because you want her living down the hall from our bedroom," I said. He threw his hands up. "I already said I'd tell her no. What more do you want?" I studied his face then, really looked. He wasn't pretending not to understand. He genuinely didn't. "I want to understand why you thought this was okay," I said. "Why your first instinct was to volunteer my home without considering how I'd feel." "Because I didn't think it was a big deal," he said, exasperated. "God, you're turning this into something it's not." That's when I knew. Not that he was malicious, but that he and I were living in completely different realities. "I think you should go," I said. "What?" "We're in the middle of a conversation." "No," I replied. "We're going in circles, and you still don't see the problem." "So that's it?" he asked. "You're breaking up with me over this?" "I'm asking you to leave," I said. "We can both think." At the door, he turned back. "Call me when you're ready to be reasonable." He left. 3 hours later, I got a text from his best friend. "Wow. Can't believe you kicked him out for trying to help someone. Real nice." I didn't respond. The next morning, his mother texted me. "I raised my son to be compassionate. It's sad you can't appreciate that quality." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. That's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. It was a campaign, and it was just getting started. I woke up that Saturday morning thinking the worst part was over. That was my mistake. It was just after 9 a.m. when the doorbell rang. Sharp, insistent, the kind of ring that doesn't ask permission. I was still in sweatpants, coffee barely touched, hair twisted up without thought. I opened the door, expecting a delivery. Instead, I found her, his ex-girlfriend. She stood there with an apologetic half-smile already prepared, shoulders slightly hunched, like she was trying to look smaller, less threatening. Worn sneakers, oversized hoodie, the costume of someone who wanted to appear harmless. "Hey," she said softly, "can we talk?" My stomach dropped. "No," I said immediately. "You need to leave." "Please," she rushed. "I just want to clear things up. I think there's been a misunderstanding." "There hasn't," I replied. "You showing up here uninvited is exactly the problem." She shifted her weight, eyes flicking behind me, into my house. "I know how it looks," she said, "but your boyfriend and I are really just friends now. I'm not trying to cause drama or come between you two." "Then why are you at my door?" I asked. She swallowed. "Because he's really upset, like, not okay, and I feel terrible that I'm the reason you're fighting." "You're not the reason," I said. "He is." Her expression changed. Just a little. The softness dimmed. "Was it really that unreasonable?" she asked, tilting her head. "A lot of people live with their exes these days. It's kind of normal." "Not in my house," I said flatly. "If you got to know me," she pressed, "you'd see I'm not a threat. I just need a place to stay for a bit." "A bit?" I repeated. He said indefinitely. She blinked. Well, yeah, not forever. Just until I get back on my feet. I don't care if it's 2 days, I said. You are not moving into my home. Her jaw tightened. You know, she said, voice cooling. He said you were different. Said you were chill. Guess he was wrong. Guess so, I replied. Please leave. I closed the door before she could say anything else. I stood there for a full minute afterward, heart racing, wondering if that had really just happened. If my life had somehow turned into a badly written sitcom where boundaries were optional and audacity was currency. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded. Him. I can't believe how rude you were to her. She came to my house uninvited, I typed back. That's not making peace. That's harassment. She was being nice, he shot back. You're so paranoid. I'm done, I wrote. This relationship is over. What? You can't end things over text. That's cowardly. Watch me, I replied. I blocked his number. What I didn't realize, what no one tells you, is that blocking someone only works if you block everyone connected to them. I hadn't. The next 3 days were a nightmare. His best friend called me 12 times. The voicemails went from pleading to aggressive. Just talk to him. You're being cruel. You're going to regret this. His sister messaged me on Facebook, calling me emotionally stunted and incapable of adult relationships. Then came the email to my work address from the example. She wrote paragraphs about ego, compassion, how I was throwing away something beautiful because I couldn't handle my insecurity. I stared at the screen, hands shaking. He had given her my work email. I didn't respond. I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, a folder labeled simply, evidence. Then it escalated again. My phone rang one evening, my mom's number. Some woman just called me, she said, confused, crying, saying you broke her son's heart. I closed my eyes. I explained everything. When I finished, my mom was quiet for a moment. She wanted her ex-girlfriend to move into your house, she said finally. Yes. And she doesn't see why that's a problem. No. Honey, my mom said gently, you dodged a bullet. I wanted to believe that was the end. It wasn't, because the following Monday, he showed up at my job. I work as a project manager at a mid-sized construction firm. It's the kind of place where schedules matter, voices stay level, and personal drama is something you leave in your car before walking through the doors. So when I heard raised voices in the lobby during my lunch break, my first instinct wasn't panic. It was disbelief. By the time I got there, he was already crying. Not quietly, not privately. Full, chest-heaving sobs, mascara-smudged hands pressed to his face, telling the receptionist and anyone within earshot that I'd abandoned him without warning. I just want to talk to her, he said loudly. She turned cold overnight. She won't even tell me why. The receptionist spotted me and looked relieved. There she is, he said, pointing. Every eye turned toward me. You know this man? My boss asked carefully as he stepped out of his office. Unfortunately, I said, voice steady, he's my ex-boyfriend. His head snapped up. Ex, we're engaged. We are not, I said calmly. We were dating. That's it. He gasped like I'd slapped him. I ended things, I continued, because he wanted to move his ex-girlfriend into my house. When I said no, she showed up uninvited at my home, and he gave her my work email so she could harass me. The lobby went quiet. The receptionist's eyebrows shot up. A couple of coworkers exchanged looks. I just want answers, he sobbed. I deserve closure. You're at my workplace making a scene, I replied. This is exactly why I don't want to talk. I had no choice, he cried. You blocked me everywhere. You had the choice to accept that it was over, I said. You chose not to. My boss stepped forward. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a place of business. He looked around then, finally registering the audience. His face crumpled further. This isn't over, he whispered to me as he turned away. After he left, my boss pulled me aside. You okay? He asked. I will be, I said. Document everything, he advised. If this continues, you may need a restraining order. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. You humiliated him at work. What kind of woman does that to someone she claimed to love? I didn't need it signed. I recognized his mother's tone immediately. I added the screenshot to the folder. That was when I reached out to a lawyer friend. His advice was simple. Document, set a clear boundary, and put it in writing. So I sent one final message, the only channel I hadn't blocked. Do not contact me again. Do not have your friends or family contact me. Do not come to my home or workplace. Any further contact will be considered harassment, and I will pursue legal action. I didn't expect it to work. 2 days later, the ex emailed me again, from a new address. She can't eat, can't sleep, lost weight, all because you couldn't show basic compassion. I forwarded it to my lawyer. He agreed. This had crossed into harassment. Then the mutual friends started calling. Each one had heard a version where I was jealous, controlling, insecure. Each one fell silent when I told the full story. Slowly, quietly, the narrative shifted. 2 weeks after the workplace incident, his father reached out. "I've talked to my son about boundaries," he said. "Showing up at your job was wrong. And frankly, the ex situation was unconventional at best." I thanked him. It mattered more than he knew, because I was exhausted. And I needed to believe that at least someone in his orbit still lived in reality. 3 weeks after the day he showed up at my office, everything finally went quiet. Not dramatically, not with some cinematic final confrontation. Just silence. And for the first time in months, that silence felt earned. Through mutual friends, the kind who talk without realizing they're carrying news, I learned how the rest of the story unfolded. His ex-girlfriend never got the comfortable living arrangement she'd been angling for. Once my house was off the table and the full story started circulating, no one else volunteered their space either. Compassion has limits when it comes with consequences. She bounced between couches for a few weeks before finally landing a tiny studio on the far edge of the metro area. Apparently, she hated the commute, hated the lack of space, complained constantly. Funny how the perfect arrangement didn't seem so perfect without my house in the equation. As for him, his lease ended right on schedule, with nowhere else to go. He'd burned the bridge with me. Tension with his parents ran high after his father publicly disagreed with his mother about the situation, and most of his friends, now aware of the full story, had quietly stepped back. So guess who offered him a couch? Yes, the ex. The just-a-friend ex. They were living together after all, in her tiny studio. After weeks of insisting I was paranoid for thinking that outcome was inevitable. From what I heard, his mother was furious. Not at him, not at her. At the ex, for taking advantage of her son's emotional state. Of course. A few days later, I received one final message from his father. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve how this played out. I hope you find someone who treats you as a priority." I wrote back simply, "Thank you. I appreciate that." Then I closed the chapter. I finished the house renovations. The guest room, the one that was supposed to house an ex-girlfriend in some twisted sitcom logic, became my home office, built-in shelves, a proper desk, good light, calm. I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand how I'd ended up somewhere so absurd that it almost felt normal by the end. Turns out I have a pattern. I give too much benefit of the doubt. I pride myself on being reasonable, secure, not jealous. I ignore red flags and call them quirks. I confuse trust with silence. The late-night calls, the heart emojis, the dinners I wasn't invited to, the way he brought her up just often enough to gauge my reaction. I never reacted, and he took that as permission, until he finally found my limit. I don't hate him. I'm not even that angry anymore. Mostly, I'm relieved that I'm not managing someone else's unresolved past while sacrificing my present. The house is quiet now. I like it that way. Some things you have to lose to realize what you actually want. I wanted peace. I wanted a partnership without competition. I wanted a future where I wasn't some new woman expected to tolerate discomfort in the name of maturity. And now, I have the space to build that.